During the tumultuous years of the Second World War, humanity witnessed horrors that surpassed the darkest chapters of its history. Under Hitler's regime, crimes of unprecedented scale were perpetrated, systematically targeting millions of men, women, and children. Entire populations were subjected to calculated extermination in concentration and execution camps, a process that eclipsed even the most infamous acts of barbarity recorded in history. While Germany pursued the annihilation of millions, the Soviet Union in the East also engaged in campaigns that resulted in the widespread suffering of countless civilians. The bombing of cities, first pioneered by Germany, escalated with the Allies, culminating in the unprecedented use of atomic weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These events were only the dramatic endpoint of a chain of decisions and miscalculations that had begun decades earlier, rooted in the aftermath of the First World War and the Treaty of Versailles. Germany, humiliated and economically crippled by Versailles, was left politically unstable, territorially diminished, and militarily restricted. Alsace-Lorraine was returned to France, the Rhineland was demilitarized, colonies were redistributed, and the nation was forced to accept responsibility for the war while paying reparations far beyond its means. Economic instability, coupled with the Great Depression, created fertile ground for extremism. Adolf Hitler, a charismatic orator with radical ideas, capitalized on public discontent, blaming the November criminals, communists, Jews, and socialists for Germany's misfortune. By 1932, the Nazi Party had gained significant representation in the Reichstag, and Hitler's appointment as Chancellor in 1933 marked the beginning of a totalitarian state. Political opponents were eliminated, opposition parties banned, and Jews systematically excluded from public life. Hitler's vision for Germany was expansive and ruthless. He sought Lebensraum or living space in the East, aiming to subjugate or eliminate Slavic populations while establishing a racially pure Aryan state. The Treaty of Versailles, which he considered a national humiliation, was rejected outright. Reoccupation of the Rhineland, annexation of Austria, and the seizure of the Sudetenland demonstrated his ability to challenge the international order. Britain and France's policy of appeasement only emboldened him further, reinforcing his belief that the West lacked the resolve to oppose his ambitions. The invasion of Poland on September 1, 1939, using blitzkrieg tactics, marked the beginning of the Second World War. German forces combining tanks, motorized infantry, and air power overwhelmed the Polish military, which, despite mobilizing over 1 million troops, possessed outdated equipment and could not withstand the German onslaught. Within weeks, Poland was divided between Germany and the Soviet Union. Despite declarations of war from Britain and France, little immediate action was taken, leading to a period known as the Phony War. Meanwhile, Germany secured Scandinavia, vital resources, and strategic positions, further consolidating its European dominance. By May 1940, Germany launched a rapid and devastating offensive against France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. The Allied forces, expecting a conventional attack, were unprepared for the speed and coordination of the German advance. Utilizing the Ardennes forest, thought impassable by French planners, German troops encircled and trapped Allied forces. The evacuation at Dunkirk, involving both military and civilian vessels, successfully rescued over 338,000 soldiers but left much of their equipment behind. Within 6 weeks, France had fallen, and Hitler controlled nearly the entire European continent. This remarkable campaign, completed in just 35 days, surpassed the achievements of Germany in the First World War. With France subdued, the Luftwaffe turned its full force against Britain, aiming to achieve air superiority as a prelude to Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of the British Isles. Despite being outnumbered, the Royal Air Force, aided by radar technology, advanced fighter planes, and the courage of pilots from Britain and allied nations, successfully resisted the German assault. Churchill's speeches inspired the nation, reinforcing a determination to resist at all costs. Nightly bombings in the Blitz sought to demoralize civilians, yet Britain endured, with millions seeking refuge in shelters while cities burned above them. The Eastern Front soon became the central theatre of war. Operation Barbarossa, launched in June 1941, aimed at the conquest of the Soviet Union. Initial advances were rapid, with German forces employing blitzkrieg tactics, capturing millions and pushing deep into Soviet territory. Yet logistical overreach, brutal winter conditions, and the resilience of the Red Army halted the German advance. Key battles at Moscow, Leningrad, and Stalingrad became epic confrontations, with urban warfare and mass casualties highlighting the immense human cost. The Soviet Union's industrial and human resources gradually wore down the German offensive, turning the tide of war in the East. While the conflict raged in Europe, the war expanded globally following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. The United States entered the conflict, transforming it into a truly global war. The clash now encompassed multiple continents, oceans, and theaters, with the scale of destruction unprecedented in human history. Germany, despite early victories in France, Poland, and Scandinavia, faced mounting challenges. Hitler's strategic miscalculations, particularly the diversion of forces from Moscow to southern objectives, allowed the Soviets to regroup and counterattack. The Battle of Stalingrad became a turning point, marking the beginning of the German retreat. The Soviet winter offensives regained vast territories, further weakening German control. Technological innovations, strategic planning, and ideological motivations defined the conflict. Blitzkrieg, initially effective due to speed and coordination, faltered under prolonged resistance and environmental challenges. Air power, particularly the role of the Luftwaffe and RAF, determined the outcomes of campaigns and the survival of nations. Massive civilian casualties, urban destruction, and widespread displacement underscored the totality of the war. Millions died, entire cities were destroyed, and nations faced unprecedented social, economic, and political upheavals. Despite the relentless destruction, human resilience persisted. Allied coordination, industrial capacity, and strategic leadership, particularly figures like Winston Churchill, ensured that the ambitions of tyranny were resisted. Battles on land, at sea, and in the air tested the limits of military tactics and human endurance. The war ultimately demonstrated the profound interplay of ideology, technology, and human determination, reshaping the world forever. From Hitler's rise to power through the fall of France, the Battle of Britain, the Eastern Front, and the global expansion of the conflict, the Second World War remains a stark testament to both the depths of human cruelty and the enduring strength of human courage and resistance.